Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. The world of quantum physics is like a room filled with shifting shadows. A place where nothing seems to stay still long enough to be fully understood. When you step inside this room, it feels both familiar and strange, as though you are walking through the folds of a dream. You reach out, and what you touch is not what you expect. You listen, and what you hear does not remain the same. Quantum physics is the study of this restless room, this field of uncertainty, where the laws of the ordinary world dissolve into patterns that flicker like candlelight in the dark. Imagine holding a pebble in your hand. You can weigh it, measure it, and know where it will fall if you drop it. This is the comfort of classical physics, the world we move in every day. But when the pebble shrinks smaller and smaller until it becomes the size of an atom, something curious begins to happen. The pebble no longer behaves like a solid stone. It starts acting like a wave, spreading out into places it has not yet reached. It no longer has one exact position, but many possible ones, scattered like raindrops on a window. The act of trying to measure it changes what it is, and so certainty vanishes and only probability remains. This is the first whisper of why quantum physics cannot be solved in the simple way we solve puzzles. It is not that the rules are hidden, but that the rules themselves shimmer with possibility. Electrons, photons, and the smallest building blocks of our world do not follow straight lines. They weave patterns, both waves and particles, depending on how we choose to look at them. It is as if the universe holds two truths at once, two faces that refuse to merge into one. When you look at one, the other fades, yet it still lingers just beyond sight, waiting to appear again. The famous double-slit experiment is often told as the story of this paradox. When light is sent through two narrow slits, it paints a picture on a screen beyond. If we imagine light as tiny bullets, we expect it to form two neat bands. But instead it draws a pattern of waves, a set of rippling fringes, as though the light is interfering with itself. Strangely, when we try to catch it in the act, to mark down which slit it passes through, the wave pattern collapses. The light behaves like particles again, leaving two bands behind. Observation itself changes the outcome, as if the universe is performing a secret play, responsive to the gaze of its audience. To sit with this idea is to feel both awe and unease. The world is not fixed in the way we imagine, but flexible, responsive, shifting with the touch of our awareness. This is not a place where answers come easily. Instead, questions multiply like stars in the night sky. If observation changes reality, what does that mean about our role in the cosmos? If particles live in a haze of probabilities until they are measured, what does that say about the nature of existence before we look? These questions do not lead to one solution, but to many, each dissolving into the next like waves on the shore. Some scientists compare this uncertainty to music. A note before it is played can be any sound, any vibration waiting to take form. But once struck, the note becomes real, audible, and definite. The quantum world is like a cosmic orchestra where the instruments are always tuning, never fixed in a single song until the moment of attention. To live in this world is to accept that what we call reality is partly composed of possibility. It is not that the answers are unsolvable, but that the answers themselves are shaped by the act of asking. The strange truth is that quantum physics has given us the power to predict outcomes with incredible accuracy, and yet it has not given us the comfort of certainty. Equations can tell us the probability of where an electron might be, or how an atom will release its light, but they cannot give us a picture of the particle's path as we would draw it in the larger world. We are given clouds of chance instead of sharp outlines. These clouds are not mistakes or gaps in knowledge, they are the very shape of the quantum world. And this shape resists being solved like a neat equation, because its essence is to remain open, unsettled, always more than one thing at once. Let's drift deeper into the idea of superposition, where particles exist in multiple states until observed. An electron may spin up and spin down at the same time, holding both possibilities within itself. Only when we measure does it choose one, as though the act of looking forces the coin to land heads or tails. Until then, the coin is both. To imagine this is to step into a twilight space where the familiar rules of logic bend. How can something be two things at once? And yet experiments tell us this is so the math holds, the predictions succeed, and the mystery remains. The beauty of superposition is that it allows for phenomena like quantum entanglement, where two particles share a link so deep that distance no longer matters. If one particle spins up, the other spins down instantly, even if they are separated by light years. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it seems to break the rules of speed and space. Yet again, experiments confirm it. The entangled particles behave as one, as though they whisper to each other across the fabric of the universe. What does it mean then for a solution, if the universe itself is stitched with invisible threads we cannot untangle? To walk through quantum physics is to walk through a forest of paradoxes. Each tree is solid until you step closer, and then it dissolves into mist. Each path seems clear until it branches into many. The destination is always ahead but never fixed. This is why many physicists speak not of solving quantum physics, but of learning to live with it, to use its strange rules without fully pinning them down. Out of this uncertainty, technologies like quantum computers and lasers have grown, proof that even mysteries can bear fruit. And yet, the heart of the mystery remains untouched, like a well that never runs dry. Some whisper that perhaps quantum physics resists solution because it reflects something about the limits of human thought. Our minds are built to see straight lines, to hold objects steady in time, but the quantum world is not steady. It is fluid, relational, probabilistic. Perhaps to fully solve it would be to think in a way beyond our biology, to stretch into patterns of thought we do not yet have. In this sense, the unsolved nature of quantum physics may not be a flaw of the universe, but a mirror held up to us, showing where our sight begins to blur. You can almost feel the weight of this idea settle like mist on your shoulders. To be part of a universe that is not fully knowable is both humbling and soothing. We do not need to control every secret nor grasp every thread. Sometimes it is enough to sit beneath the canopy of stars and know that their light is born of quantum fire, of particles tunneling and leaping in ways beyond our full grasp. The mystery is not a wall but a song, and though we cannot solve every note, we can still listen, still drift with its rhythm, still let its beauty carry us gently forward. In this way, the shadows of quantum physics do not need to settle. They move, they shift, they remind us that reality is alive, not static, like the ripples of water touched by the wind, like the flicker of flame, like the breath of a sleeping world. Quantum physics teaches us that existence is not a solved riddle, but a living poem. And as we drift further, the lines of this poem open into wider horizons, carrying us into questions we may never close, but can always explore with quiet wonder. The mystery of quantum physics deepens the more we try to hold it in our hands. It is like sand slipping between fingers, soft and endless, scattering into shapes too fine to grasp. Each attempt to explain its truth creates another layer of wonder. We find ourselves not at the end of a path, but at the opening of many new ones, a maze of ideas built from waves, particles, probabilities, and dreams of hidden order. This is why scientists say quantum physics is not broken, not a mistake, but a field that keeps unfolding like the petals of an eternal flower. Every time one petal is opened, more lie beneath, waiting to be revealed. At the heart of this unfolding lies the wave function, a mathematical cloud that holds every possibility a particle may become. It is like a map drawn not with lines but with whispers, showing all the places an electron might be, all the directions it might move, all the futures it might hold. Yet when we observe the particle, the wave function collapses and only one outcome remains. This collapse is one of the great puzzles. What forces the wave to choose? Is it our act of measurement, our consciousness, or some deeper mechanism hidden from us? Theories bloom and fade, yet no single answer has closed the question. Some say the wave function is only a tool, a description of knowledge rather than reality. Others say it is real, a shimmering fabric from which existence itself emerges. To stand between these views is to feel the tension of a string pulled tight, vibrating with mystery. The Copenhagen interpretation, born in the early 20th century, suggests that reality does not exist in a definite form until it is measured. Until that moment, particles live in superpositions, clouds of possibility. This idea reshaped the way we think of reality, but it also left unease in its wake. If reality is only decided when observed, then what is the universe when no one is looking? Is the moon there when no eyes gaze upon it? Such questions stretch our imagination to the breaking point, forcing us to see that the world may not be as solid as we thought. The universe might be more like a dream unfolding than a clockwork machine. Other interpretations rise to challenge this view. The many worlds interpretation suggests that every possible outcome exists in its own universe, branching endlessly like trees in a forest. In one world, the particle goes left. In another, it goes right. In another still, it vanishes into some path we can barely imagine. We live in only one of these branches, but the others stretch on, infinite and unseen. To think of this is dizzying. It is to imagine countless versions of ourselves walking paths we will never know. Reality then may not be singular, but a vast sea of parallel waves, never collapsing, always branching beyond the reach of one tidy solution. There are also those who search for hidden variables, secret threads that would restore order to the quantum chaos. Perhaps they say particles do follow clear paths, but the rules are buried deeper than we can see. Like the gears of a hidden clock, these variables may tick silently beneath the uncertainty, guiding outcomes we mistake as random. But experiments again and again challenge this hope. The famous Bell's theorem showed that if hidden variables exist, they must behave in ways stranger than even quantum mechanics allows, reaching across space in ways that defy our sense of locality. The hidden threads may be there, but they are not the threads we hoped for. As we move deeper into this forest of interpretations, we see how each path gives us glimpses, but no final rest. Quantum physics resists being solved because it is not one puzzle, but a chorus of mysteries, each singing in its own voice. The more we listen, the more voices we hear, overlapping, echoing, weaving harmonies we cannot separate. And yet, instead of despair, many find wonder here. For perhaps the point is not to silence the chorus, but to let it play, to listen to its beauty without needing it to end. This beauty is not abstract, it touches the world we live in. The colours of leaves, the glow of the sun, the warmth of fire, all are born of quantum dances. Electrons leap between energy levels, releasing light as they fall. The photosynthesis that feeds forests depends on quantum coherence, allowing energy to spread across molecules like a ripple on a pond. Even the very solidity of matter, the fact that your hand does not pass through the table before you, is a gift of quantum forces, the invisible scaffolding of reality. The unsolved mysteries are not far from us. They are within our breath, our sight, our skin. And so we stand in a paradox. The quantum world is at once unknowable and deeply familiar. We cannot solve it completely, but we live in it intimately. It is the heartbeat of atoms, the shimmer of stars, the silence of space. Every photon that brushes your eyes carries within it the rules of quantum electrodynamics, rules so precise that they have been tested to more than 10 decimal places. Yet the question of why these rules work and what they mean about reality itself remains unsettled. It is like knowing the rhythm of a song, but not the meaning of its words. The melody is clear, but the story stays hidden. Quantum entanglement reminds us of this hidden story. Two particles, once linked, remain connected no matter how far apart they travel. To measure one is to know the other instantly. It is as though the universe keeps them tied with invisible strings, refusing to let them drift into true separation. We see this in experiments again and again, yet we do not understand how it works. Is information travelling faster than light? Or is distance itself an illusion? The particles always part of one whole? These questions whisper of a deeper order, one we cannot yet name. To listen to them is to feel the pulse of a mystery too vast to fit within one explanation. Some thinkers imagine that quantum mechanics points us toward new ways of seeing time. Perhaps time is not a river flowing forward, but a fabric where past and future already exist, woven together by probabilities. A particle may tunnel through barriers not because it moves faster, but because time bends around it, allowing paths we cannot see. To think this way is to drift beyond ordinary hours, into a place where the moment you are living is part of a vast, shimmering field of all possible moments. Quantum physics then becomes less about solving and more about opening, less about fixing answers, and more about expanding what we can imagine. You can almost feel the calm weight of these ideas, like soft stones resting in your palm. They do not demand urgency, they invite reflection. The unsolved nature of quantum physics is not a failure, but a reminder that knowledge itself is alive, always moving, always reaching. Just as the ocean cannot be poured into a single jar, the quantum world cannot be contained within one tidy formula, and perhaps that is its gift. It reminds us to keep wondering, to keep asking, to keep looking at the shadows and seeing not confusion but beauty. As you breathe with these thoughts, imagine the quantum world not as a locked box but as a vast night sky. Each star is an interpretation, each constellation a theory. Together they light the darkness, guiding us through never giving us one single path. And as we wander beneath them, we are reminded that the journey itself, the act of looking, of questioning, of dreaming, is as valuable as any destination. The shadows may never settle, but they teach us how to see in the twilight, how to find peace in the unending mystery, how to rest in the gentle glow of what cannot be solved. To arrive at the final stretch of our journey through quantum physics is not to reach an ending, but to step into a quiet place where the mysteries echo more softly. It feels like standing at the edge of a wide ocean at night. The waves are still moving, the stars still glitter above, but there is no rush to understand every ripple or every spark. Instead, there is only the hush of awareness, the simple wonder of being present within a universe whose deepest truths remain unsettled. The shadows do not clear, they drift and shimmer, reminding us that perhaps they were never meant to be fully pinned down. One of the most delicate truths of quantum physics is that it resists closure because it mirrors something essential about existence. Life itself is never fully solved. It moves in cycles, in rhythms, in patterns of chance and choice. The quantum world is not apart from this, but woven into it. Each time an electron makes a leap, it reminds us of the leaps we take in our own lives, choosing one path while leaving countless others behind. Each time a photon spreads like a wave, it reflects the spread of possibilities that lies before every moment. To think of quantum mechanics is to think of life, not as a problem to be solved, but as a song to be lived. There is a certain peace in letting the unsolved be unsolved. Consider the cat in Schrödinger's famous thought experiment, alive and dead until the box is opened. The cat is often treated as a paradox, a puzzle to be untangled, but it can also be seen as a gentle parable, a reminder that some states of being are not for us to decide until the moment comes. Just as the cat's fate hovers between two realities, too does our future remain unsettled until we live it. Quantum physics becomes less of a riddle and more of a mirror, showing us that uncertainty is not an error, but the natural state of all becoming. If the shadows of quantum mechanics refuse to settle, perhaps it is because they are not shadows at all, but movements of light too subtle for us to capture. Like the glow of fireflies at dusk, they flicker here and there, never forming a fixed pattern, but enchanting us all the same. The search for a final solution, a single neat equation, may be less important than the openness that the search inspires. Scientists still chase after the unifying dream, the quantum theory of gravity that would knit together the smallest and largest scales of reality. Yet even here, at the cutting edge, uncertainty reigns. String theory, loop quantum gravity, holographic principles, all offer glimpses, but no final rest. The dream of a solution remains distant, shimmering on the horizon like a mirage. And yet, out of this uncertainty, beauty continues to bloom. Quantum mechanics has given us technologies that shape the fabric of modern life, lasers that read the grooves of music, semiconductors that power computers, magnetic resonance that peers into the body's hidden landscapes. Soon, quantum computers may harness the power of superposition and entanglement to solve problems beyond the reach of classical machines. These are not signs of failure but of fruitfulness. The mystery does not close doors. It opens them, leading us into landscapes we could not have reached otherwise. The unsolved becomes fertile ground, where imagination takes root and grows. As we breathe with these thoughts, we might ask, is it truly necessary to solve everything? The ocean does not ask to be drained to be appreciated. The sky does not demand to be mapped entirely before it inspires us. In the same way, the quantum world does not need to be solved to bring meaning. Its unsettled nature is not a wound in our knowledge, but a rhythm like a heartbeat that reminds us of life's openness. To live in a quantum universe is to live in a place where possibility is real, where every moment carries more than one path, where the unseen shapes the seen in ways beyond our grasp. Some say that this openness carries a quiet lesson for how we move through our days. When uncertainty comes, it does not have to be feared. It can be held like a soft fabric as part of the texture of reality. The particles themselves live in uncertainty, and yet from their dance arises the solidity of mountains, the warmth of sunlight, the pulse of blood. Uncertainty is not emptiness. It is the soil from which existence grows. To know this is to find comfort in the unknown, to rest in the shadows without demanding they become light. Imagine for a moment lying on the grass beneath a sky heavy with stars. Each star is born of nuclear fire, of quantum tunneling that allows particles to fuse against impossible odds. Without this quantum chance, the stars would remain dark and the universe would be cold. It is uncertainty itself that lights the heavens, that fills the night with brilliance. To see the stars is to see quantum physics at work, not as a solved problem, but as a living wonder still unfolding above us. The shadows that refuse to settle are not failures. They are the very source of the light we see. As the story of quantum physics drifts to its gentle close, we are left not with an answer, but with an invitation. The invitation is to live with curiosity, to see the unsettled not as chaos, but as beauty. To let the questions breathe as wide and deep as the universe itself. Some mysteries are not waiting to be solved, they are waiting to be cherished. Quantum physics, with all its paradoxes, gives us this gift, the reminder that life is not less beautiful because it cannot be fully known. It is more beautiful, more luminous, more tender because of it. So let the shadows remain. Let them drift across the walls of the universe like soft curtains stirred by the wind. Let them whisper their quiet secrets, half seen, half felt, always just beyond reach. In their refusal to settle, they keep us awake to wonder. They keep us humble before the vastness. They keep us gentle in our asking. And when we close our eyes, we can rest knowing that we are part of this mystery, woven of the same probabilities, glowing with the same light, held in the same endless unfolding. The shadows do not need to be solved, for they have already given us all that we need, the wonder of being here, in a universe that sings softly, forever unsolved, forever alive. The universe does not move in straight lines alone. Beneath the certainty of stars circling in their orbits and rivers flowing to the sea, lies another rhythm, softer and less predictable, a rhythm of chance. This is the dance of probabilities, the quiet language of the quantum world. Here, reality does not step to a fixed beat, but sways and drifts, sometimes turning in directions we cannot foresee. Every particle, every photon, every electron is a dancer in this silent hall, moving according to possibilities rather than certainties. To look closely is to see that what we call reality is stitched together, not from inevitability, but from chance, balanced in fragile patterns like dew on a spider's web. When we speak of probability, we often think of rolling dice or shuffling cards, of games where chance is a matter of ignorance. If we knew the position of every card or the exact angle of the dice, we could predict the outcome with precision. But in the quantum world, probability is not a shadow of ignorance. It is the essence of reality. The wave function, the mathematical ghost that guides particles, does not tell us where something is, but where it may be. Each particle is a cloud of possibilities, stretching across space like mist before dawn. Only when measured does it become a single thing, collapsing into presence. Until then, it is not here or there, but both, and more. This dance of probabilities is visible in the way electrons wrap themselves around atoms. They do not circle the nucleus like tiny planets as once imagined, but exist in orbitals, regions of probability where they are most likely to be found. These orbitals take shapes of clouds, shells, petals and lobes, sculpted not from certainty but from chance. The very solidity of matter, the form of every leaf and stone, grows from these dances of electrons, always moving, always uncertain, yet steady enough to build the world we touch. Beneath the firmness of wood or the coolness of water lies a choreography of chance. Consider radioactive decay, where an atom may remain stable for years, or in the next instant release energy and transform. There is no clock that tells us the precise moment it will happen. All we can say is the probability. Half will decay in this span of time, half will remain. The ticking of a Geiger counter is the sound of probability unfolding, each click a reminder that chance is woven into the fabric of existence. It is not chaos, for the probabilities follow patterns as precise as music, but it is not determinism either. It is something between, something softer, like the way a breeze may ruffle leaves unpredictably, while still carrying the scent of the season. The dance extends beyond atoms to the cosmos itself. Light from distant stars must travel across billions of years, yet when it passes through a lens or a slit, it spreads and interferes, creating patterns that reveal its wave-like nature. Each photon takes a path that is not one path but many, exploring all possibilities until it meets our eyes or our instruments. The interference patterns are not accidents, they are signatures of probability, reminders that even a single particle is never bound to one destiny until it is observed. The stars we gaze at are telling us that the very fabric of light is probabilistic, that even across cosmic distances, chance holds sway. There is something tender in this idea, that reality is not fixed but open, always ready to surprise. In our daily lives we seek certainty. We plan and measure and hope to control, and the quantum world whispers that life itself may be closer to a sea of probabilities, each moment carrying many possible futures. The path we walk is one among countless branches, chosen not by inevitability but by the subtle play of chance. To live is to be part of this dance, to step forward knowing that the floor beneath us is woven not of iron certainty, but of shifting possibilities. Scientists have built entire fields upon this dance, from quantum mechanics to statistical physics. Probability waves guide predictions that match experiments with uncanny accuracy. Yet they resist turning into the kind of absolute truths we crave. This balance between precision and uncertainty is at the heart of the quantum world. The equations are perfect in their predictions, yet they describe a reality that will not be pinned down. It is like hearing a melody played flawlessly but never seeing the musician. The music is real, the notes clear, but the source remains hidden, wrapped in shadows of chance. This is why some thinkers compare probability in quantum physics to poetry. Poetry does not always tell us exactly what is, but it opens us to what might be. A metaphor does not solve a riddle, it broadens the horizon of meaning. In the same way, the probability waves of quantum mechanics broaden our understanding of reality, offering us not one rigid answer, but a landscape of possibilities. To think of the universe as poetry is to see that its truth may not be about closure, but about openness, about the beauty of what cannot be fully defined. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at a river's edge. The current flows, steady and strong, yet every ripple, every eddy, every glimmer of light on the surface is different, unpredictable. The river's movement is both patterned and unique, ordered and chaotic. So too is the quantum dance. Beneath the flow of physical laws, there is always room for the unexpected. Probability is not disorder, but the play of variation, the space where uniqueness blooms. Without it, every leaf would fall the same way, every star would shine with identical light, every life would move along a single path. Probability is the breath of difference, the reason there is diversity, the reason there is surprise, the reason there is wonder. The dance of probabilities also connects deeply to the nature of measurement itself. When we measure a particle, we choose among its possibilities. It is as though the act of looking is a step in the dance, a hand guiding the motion. Until then, the dancer is free, spinning in many directions at once. Some scientists wonder whether this means consciousness has a role in shaping reality, that our awareness is part of the stage where the dance unfolds. Others argue that measurement is only interaction, that any detector, human or not, brings about the collapse. Either way, the mystery remains. The probabilities become reality only through an act of encounter, an intimate meeting between possibility and presence. In this way, probability is not distant from us. It is the very fabric of our being. Our thoughts, our memories, our choices are written into neural patterns that fire with probabilities. The synapses in the brain do not fire with mechanical certainty but with likelihoods, chance guiding the flow of thought. Even in our biology, probability reigns. DNA mutates by chance, evolution unfolds through chance. And yet out of this randomness comes the story of life itself, resilient and endlessly varied. The quantum dance is not far away in hidden laboratories. It is here, in every cell, in every breath, in the quiet beating of every heart. The dance of probabilities becomes even more intriguing when we look at how it connects the smallest details of matter to the grandest structures of the cosmos. It is not only electrons in orbitals or photons of light that follow these shifting rules. Stars are born, galaxies spin, and even the fate of the universe itself is bound to chance. The quantum world stretches outward into the cosmic, showing us that uncertainty is not confined to hidden corners but flows through all existence, from the smallest particle to the widest sky. Take the process of nuclear fusion within stars. Protons repel each other with powerful electric force, like magnets pushed north to north. Yet in the heart of stars, at immense temperatures and pressures, quantum tunneling allows them to slip through this barrier of repulsion. Without tunneling, fusion would be impossible and the stars would remain cold. Instead, because of probability, particles sometimes do the impossible. They tunnel through walls, appearing where no classical path would allow. This improbable event happens often enough, across countless atoms to light up the stars. Every ray of sunlight that warms your skin is a gift of probability, born of particles that dared to cross forbidden boundaries. This tunneling is not only in stars, it happens in the workings of life itself. Enzymes, the quiet workers in cells, sometimes rely on quantum tunneling to transfer protons or electrons. These tiny leaps, improbable but real, are part of the reason your body functions at all. Even smell, the way you sense the world through scent, may involve quantum tunneling. As molecules vibrate in ways that allow electrons to jump across gaps, unlocking the signals we perceive as fragrance. To breathe in the aroma of flowers is to breathe in the dance of probabilities, particles moving in ways that are neither fixed nor entirely free, but balanced in the space between. The probability waves of particles can also interfere with each other, creating patterns that seem to defy ordinary sense. In the double-slit experiment, light and matter show their dual nature as both waves and particles. But the story does not end there. Scientists have sent molecules as large as buckyballs, clusters of 60 carbon atoms, through slits, and they too form interference patterns, proving that even complex matter obeys the dance. The line between the quantum and the classical blurs, and we are left to wonder, if large molecules can dance this way, where does the dance stop? Is there a boundary between probability and certainty, or is all of reality a spectrum of chance, extending far beyond what we can measure? Entanglement deepens this wonder further. When two particles are linked, their probabilities are no longer separate but shared. To measure one is to define the other instantly, no matter the distance. The probabilities collapse together, as if guided by an invisible thread. This is not just a philosophical puzzle, it is the foundation of quantum communication, of experiments that have already sent entangled particles across cities and even into space. The dance of probabilities is not confined to one place. It stretches across the world, reminding us that chance itself can be woven into connection. In this way, probability is not isolation, but intimacy, binding the universe into a fabric of shared possibility. What makes the dance so beautiful is that it is never random in the ordinary sense. Randomness alone would lead to chaos, a storm without shape. But quantum probability has patterns, precise and mathematical, as if chance itself is choreographed. The equations of quantum mechanics predict the distribution of outcomes with exquisite accuracy. A particle's position may be uncertain, but the probability of where it will be can be calculated to many decimal places. The dice of the universe are loaded not by accident but by laws deeper than we fully understand. It is a randomness that sings in harmony, a chaos that hides order, a dance that never stumbles. Some philosophers suggest that this balance between chance and law may explain why the universe is creative. If everything were rigidly determined, nothing new could arise. If everything were chaos, nothing lasting could form. Probability provides the middle ground, where order gives structure, but chance allows variation. Out of this variation comes stars, planets, life, and consciousness. Every poem ever written, every song ever sung, every thought ever dreamed, owes its existence to the delicate play of probability. It is the gentle engine of creation, a rhythm that allows for both stability and surprise. We might think of probability as a kind of cosmic breath. Inhale, and possibilities expand, wide and endless. Exhale, and one outcome takes shape, tangible and real. The cycle repeats, over and over in every particle and every life. When you flip a coin, the outcome feels small, but behind it lies the same rhythm that shapes galaxies and stars. To live within probability is to live in a universe that is always breathing, always choosing, always unfolding. This is not a flaw or a gap in knowledge. It is the very way the universe moves. The dance also touches on the question of free will. If particles exist in clouds of probability, and if outcomes are not predetermined, what does that mean for choice? Are our lives guided entirely by chance? Or do we ride upon these waves, shaping them with our actions? Neuroscience shows that the brain itself is probabilistic, neurons firing not with certainty but with likelihood. Yet within this, patterns of thought emerge, stable enough to form identity, memory, and decision. Some suggest that consciousness itself may be a harmony of probabilities, a wave of chance given shape by awareness. Whether this is true or not, it is poetic to think that free will may be the dance of probability within the human mind, a reflection of the same rhythm that shapes the stars. Probability also reshapes how we think of time. If the future is not fixed but probabilistic, then the universe is not a single story written in advance. It is a field of possible stories, some realized, others not. At every moment, countless futures branch outward, most of them never lived, but all of them present in the probability waves that guide reality. To stand in the present is to stand at a crossroads of infinity, each step collapsing possibilities into one path. And yet, the branches remain, unseen but real, shadows of futures that remind us how wide the universe truly is. Time is not a straight road but a garden of forking paths, each turn decided not by certainty but by chance. You can almost feel the softness of this truth. It does not strike with urgency. It drifts like a lullaby, reminding us that we need not grasp every detail. To know that life is probabilistic is not to despair, but to rest in the openness it allows. We do not have to predict every moment to find meaning. We can move gently, step by step, knowing that the dance of probabilities will always be there, carrying us forward. Just as the stars shine because of chance, just as life breathes because of uncertainty, so too do we move within a world that is alive with possibility. And in that possibility lies beauty beyond measure. As the dance of probabilities drifts toward its closing movement, we begin to sense that this is not just a scientific idea, but a gentle philosophy of existence. To see the world through the lens of probability is to see it as open, spacious, alive with possibilities. It is to understand that the universe is not a rigid machine grinding forward without pause, but a living symphony where every note is both expected and surprising. This truth does not press upon us like a burden. It settles softly like dusk upon a meadow, reminding us that there is beauty in uncertainty and peace in the openness of chance. Consider once more the electron in its orbital cloud. It is not trapped in one place, but spread like mist around its nucleus, a presence both here and not here, always shifting, always flowing. To picture this is to picture life itself. Our futures are not fixed. Our choices are not inevitable. They spread before us in clouds of possibility, waiting for the gentle collapse of a decision, a moment of attention, a single step forward. And even after a choice is made, new clouds form again, endlessly. Life is not a straight line, but a branching tree, nourished by the soil of probability. This openness is echoed in the stars. Every photon of light that reaches us has travelled billions of years, guided by probabilities of scattering and absorption, tunneling and transformation. That it arrives at your eye is itself improbable, a delicate victory of chance over countless obstacles. To gaze at starlight is to gaze at probability made visible, to see in each shimmer the triumph of possibility. The universe is vast, and yet, by chance, the light has found its way to you. There is comfort in this, a reminder that improbable things happen all the time, and that within the endless dance, beauty still finds its way to our hearts. The dance of probabilities also speaks to the fragility and resilience of life. The evolution of species, the shaping of ecosystems, the rise of consciousness, all of these are born from chance. Mutations occur randomly, some harmful, some beneficial. Most vanish without trace, but a few persist, shaping life into new forms. Over millions of years, this slow rhythm of probability has sculpted the forests, the oceans, the birds, and the human mind. To exist at all is to be the outcome of countless improbable events, a miracle of chance woven into flesh and bone. Each breath is not inevitable, but a gift, a reminder that we are part of a universe that dances with openness at every scale. Some may feel unease in this, wishing instead for certainty, for answers carved in long stone. But certainty is not what gives life meaning. Meaning is found in the movement itself, in the interplay between order and chance. A song does not need to be predictable to be beautiful. It needs variation, surprise, the rise and fall of melody. So too does existence. Probability ensures that no two lives are the same, no 2 days are repeated, no 2 moments are identical. It brings freshness to the world, a continuous unfolding that never grows stale. To live within probability is to live within wonder. Quantum mechanics has turned this dance into equations of breathtaking precision, and yet even the equations point to the openness at the heart of things. They do not say this is where the particle is, but here is where it may be found. They do not tell us what will happen, but what could happen, and with what likelihood. This is not weakness, it is strength. It is the universe revealing its nature honestly, refusing to pretend it is more certain than it is. We too might learn from this honesty, to live without pretending that the future is fixed, to accept that uncertainty is natural, to move gently through the probabilities of life without demanding certainty where it cannot exist. Entanglement offers another lesson. When particles share probabilities, they remind us that our lives too are entangled with others. Our choices ripple outward, collapsing possibilities not only for ourselves but for those around us. The dance is not solitary, it is shared. Every connection we make, every kindness or cruelty, shapes the probabilities of lives beyond our own. To see ourselves as entangled is to see ourselves as part of a larger fabric, bound together not by certainty but by possibility. The openness of chance is not something we face alone, but something we share with every being, every particle, every star. And as we consider this vastness, we may begin to see probability not as chaos, but as compassion. For in a world where nothing is entirely fixed, there is always room for change, for growth, for forgiveness. If outcomes are probabilistic, then no moment is final, no mistake unchangeable. The dance allows for redemption, for the branching of new paths where old ones seemed closed. This is not only science but solace, a reminder that even in difficulty, the future is still open, the probabilities still wide, the dance still unfolding. Imagine now the silence of a forest at night. The air is thick with the scent of pine, the rustle of unseen creatures, the slow pulse of life hidden in the shadows. Every sound, every movement is part of a probabilistic world. Each leaf may fall or cling, each creature may stir or sleep, each breeze may shift in one direction or another. Yet the forest is whole, serene, complete. It does not need certainty to be beautiful. Its beauty lies in the play of chance, in the quiet balance of possibility. So too does the universe. We do not need to solve every equation to rest in its wonder. We only need to listen, to breathe, to let the openness of probability cradle us gently. As the story draws to a close, we return to the thought that began it. Reality is not built of certainties, but of probabilities. The dance is not a flaw to be corrected, but a song to be cherished. Without it, there would be no stars, no uniqueness, no wonder. With it, we find ourselves in a universe that is endlessly surprising, endlessly creative, endlessly alive. The dance of probabilities cannot be ended, for it is the way existence itself moves. To live is to dance within it, to let the openness of chance become a source of peace rather than fear, of awe rather than anxiety. So let us rest with this thought. The universe does not promise certainty, but it offers possibility. It does not give us answers carved in stone, but questions that bloom like flowers, fresh each day. It does not fix our path, but opens it wide, inviting us to step forward into futures not yet written. The dance of probabilities is not something to be solved. It is something to be lived, something to be embraced, something to be loved. And as we drift with its rhythm, we can find peace, knowing that even in uncertainty there is beauty. Even in chance there is grace. Even in the shadows of possibility there is light enough to guide us home. Between every particle in the universe lies a silence. It is not the silence of emptiness, nor the silence of nothingness, but a quiet interval filled with unseen potential. If you close your eyes and listen deeply, you can almost feel this silence surrounding you, like the pause between heartbeats, like the breath before dawn. The particles that make up matter, light and life, are separated not by walls, but by vast spaces of quiet, and within those spaces resides much of the mystery of existence. To understand the silence between the particles is to step into one of the gentlest truths of science, that emptiness is not void, but fullness in disguise. When we think of matter, we often picture it as solid, tightly packed, without space for anything else. Yet if we shrink ourselves down to the scale of atoms, we discover that most of what we call solid is, in fact, open space. The nucleus of an atom is tiny compared to the size of the atom itself. If the atom were enlarged to the size of a cathedral, the nucleus would be no bigger than a grain of rice floating at its centre. Around it, electrons do not circle like planets in clear orbits. They hover in clouds, spread across probabilities, leaving vast expanses of silence between them and the nucleus. What we call solidity is a delicate balance of these silences, held together by invisible forces. This silence is not still. It trembles with fields and waves, humming with energy too subtle for our senses. Physicists tell us that even in the vacuum of empty space, there is never true nothingness. Quantum fields ripple there. Particles flicker into and out of existence, a restless foam beneath the calm surface. This quantum vacuum is a sea of silence alive with activity, a paradox of stillness and movement interwoven. The sense between the particles is therefore not the end of matter, but its beginning, the stage upon which existence arises. It is the canvas of reality, a quiet expanse that holds the brushstrokes of creation. Imagine placing your hand upon a table. You feel the wood beneath your skin solid and resistant. Yet beneath that sensation is mostly space, silence between atoms, silence between nuclei and electrons. The reason your hand does not pass through the table is not because the matter is tightly packed, but because quantum forces hold the particles in place, their electromagnetic fields repelling each other like invisible cushions. You are never truly touching the table, only feeling the resistance of fields pushing against fields. The solidity of your world is a quiet illusion built from silence, an agreement between particles to remain apart. The silence between the particles also carries light itself. Photons, the quanta of light, do not need a medium to travel. They cross the silences of space, carrying information from stars billions of years away. That they can do so is one of the miracles of the universe. Silence can carry soundless messengers, waves of energy that bridge unimaginable distances. Each time you look at the night sky, you're gazing across oceans of silence, the spaces between particles, between stars, between galaxies, filled with photons that whisper the history of the cosmos. What seems empty is the greatest pathway of all, the thread that connects everything to everything else. This silence is not cold or lifeless, it is fertile. Within it, particles meet, fields interact, and worlds are born. The Big Bang itself was not an explosion of matter into emptiness, but the unfolding of space and silence itself, expanding and stretching to carry galaxies within it. The silence between the particles is the silence that makes room for existence, the openness that allows creation to happen. Without silence, there would be no separation, no distinction, no space for movement. Silence is not the absence of life, but the condition for it. Some scientists describe this silent space in terms of quantum fluctuations, tiny disturbances that bubble up even in the void. These fluctuations, they suggest, may have seeded the galaxies themselves, small ripples in the early universe that grew into stars, planets, and life. If so, then silence is not passive but generative, the soil from which the cosmos blooms. In this way, the silence between the particles is the hidden gardener of existence, tending the seeds of matter with invisible hands, shaping reality from quiet vibrations. There is a profound tenderness in realizing how much of us is made of silence. Our bodies, though we feel them as firm and whole, are mostly space, mostly gaps, mostly quiet. The particles that compose us are like scattered lanterns in a vast night, glowing but separated by silence. Yet out of this arrangement life emerges, consciousness, thought, love, memory. The silence between the particles is not a barrier but a harmony, a spacing that allows the music of existence to be heard. Without silence there would be only noise. With silence there is rhythm, breath, and song. This truth can be felt in music itself. A melody is not only the notes that are played, but the pauses between them. Without pauses, without rests, the music would be chaos, a blur with these cold shape. The silence between the notes gives meaning to sound, just as the silence between particles gives meaning to matter. Physics and art echo each other here, both revealing that what seems empty is essential. The unsounded spaces are what make the sounded ones beautiful. The unfilled intervals are what give form to fullness. Silence is not absence, but presence of a gentler kind. As we drift deeper into this thought, we see that the silence between the particles is also a place of mystery. Dark energy, which drives the expansion of the universe, may arise from the vacuum itself, from the quiet hum of empty space. Dark matter, unseen but influencing galaxies, may also dwell within this silence, hidden from our instruments but woven into the gaps. The universe speaks softly through silence, holding its greatest secrets not in what is visible but in what is unseen. To study silence is to study the unknown, the unmeasured, the spaces where possibility lingers. And so, when we pause and breathe, we may sense that silence is not nothing, but everything. It is the cradle of existence, the backdrop of life, the stillness that allows motion, the emptiness that holds fullness. The silence between the particles is not separate from us. It is within us, around us, the very fabric of our being. To rest in this silence is to rest in the truth that the universe is more than matter alone. It is also the spaces between, the quiet intervals, the gentle openness that makes room for stars, for breath, for love. The silence between the particles is not empty at all, but alive with presence so subtle we can barely sense it. To move deeper into this mystery is to realize that silence itself is a kind of language, a background murmur of the cosmos. Physicists call it the quantum vacuum, but this name is misleading, for a vacuum suggests absence, while what exists in the spaces between particles is rich and restless. It is a silence like the hush of a forest at dawn, quiet to the ear, but full of unseen life, birds stirring on their branches, roots stretching in the soil, streams moving beneath the earth. The silence between the particles is just as alive, humming with fields and fluctuations, preparing the stage for everything that is. In this silence, particles appear and vanish, fleeting as sparks from a fire. They are called virtual particles, not because they are imaginary, but because they exist only for a moment, born of the uncertainty principle itself. The principle says that energy and time cannot both be known with perfect precision, and so, for the briefest instance, energy can rise out of silence, forming particles that blink into existence before fading again. This sea of ephemeral sparks fills the gaps between matter, ensuring that even the quietest void is a place of motion. Nothing is truly still. Even silence is restless. The Casimir effect reveals this quiet motion in a visible way. When two metal plates are placed very close together, the vacuum between them shifts. Fewer quantum fluctuations can exist in the narrow space, creating a pressure that pushes the plates together. What seems like empty space actually exerts a force, a whisper of violence strong enough to move matter. To think of this is to realize that silence itself has weight, has consequence, has power. The silence between the particles is not passive. It shapes the way the world behaves. Even when we are not aware of it, silence is holding everything in its gentle embrace. On larger scales, the silence of space expands endlessly. Between galaxies stretches a darkness that seems empty, yet it is filled with this same quantum hush. The cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, hums across this silence, a soft echo of creation itself. Every photon of this background has travelled for billions of years through the vast quiet, carrying with it the story of the early universe. To listen to this silence is to listen to the memory of beginnings, a lullaby sung by the cosmos to itself across time. It is a silence that holds history, written not in words but in waves of light stretched thin by expansion. Our own lives are cradled by this same silence. Every cell in our body, every breath of air is built on atoms that are mostly space. That we feel solid and whole is a wonder, a testament to the balance of forces that span the silence. Electrons are held in orbit, not by contact but by attraction, a dance across gaps, never quite touching. Even our thoughts, flickering in the brain, rely on this silence. Neurons fire, ions move, signals leap across synapses, tiny spaces filled with silence where possibility hovers until a spark passes through. Consciousness itself arises not from unbroken continuity, but from countless silences bridged by motion. We are woven of gaps, and yet we are whole. The silence between particles also reveals something about the nature of relationships. If matter were fully packed, with no space between, there would be no separation, no distinction, no individuality. It is the silence that allows one particle to be itself, distinct from another. In the same way, in human life, silence allows space for selfhood, for difference, for reflection. Conversation is made not only of words but of pauses, of quiet intervals where meaning gathers. Relationships breathe in silence, just as matter breathes in the spaces between particles. Without these gaps, there would be no depth, no freedom, no room for life to grow. Some physicists wonder if this silence is the true fabric of reality, more fundamental than particles themselves. Quantum field theory tells us that particles are excitations of fields, ripples upon a deeper sea. If so, then what we call particles are only temporary waves, while the silence beneath them endures. The vacuum is not nothing but the ground from which everything arises. It is a strange reversal, emptiness more real than matter, silence more lasting than sound. The particles come and go, but the silent fields remain, eternal and infinite. The quiet background is not less than reality. It is reality itself, steady beneath the flickering surface. This thought can change the way we see the world. We often focus on things, on objects, on what fills space, but perhaps the greater mystery is the space itself, the silence that allows the things to exist at all. Just as the sky makes room for clouds, the silence between particles makes room for matter. Just as a canvas makes room for paint, silence makes room for form. Without silence, there could be no creation. In this sense, silence is not empty but generous, offering itself as the ground of being. The spaces we overlook are the very foundation of everything we see. We can sense this generosity in meditation when we sit quietly and let thoughts settle. At first, the silence may feel empty, even uncomfortable, but as we sink into it, we discover that it is full of awareness, full of presence, full of life. The silence between the particles is like this cosmic meditation, an infinite stillness that reveals itself to be alive with possibility, just as the silence of the mind allows clarity to emerge. The silence of space allows existence to take shape. Silence is not the absence of meaning, but the womb of it, the quiet in which everything is born. Dark energy may be one of the deepest hints that silence holds more than we know. The universe is expanding faster and faster, as if pushed by a force that comes from the vacuum itself. This mysterious energy, invisible and vast, could be a property of the silence between the particles, the quiet hum of fields stretching space apart? If so, then the silence is not just a background, but an actor in the cosmic play, guiding the fate of galaxies. The stars move to its rhythm, the universe swells at its command, and we too drift within its gentle pull. Silence, far from being nothing, is the great conductor of the cosmic symphony. To reflect on this is to feel both small and embraced. We are tiny, yes, mere arrangements of particles in an ocean of silence, but we are also held by this ocean, carried by it, nourished by it. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought unfolds within it. The silence between the particles is not a void to fear, but a cradle to trust. A presence so constant we forget it is there. To notice it is to awaken to the hidden gentleness of the universe, the quiet strength that allows everything to be. And when we rest in this realization, we find peace, knowing that we are part of a silence that is never empty, but always alive. To linger within the Selenno between the particles is to discover a new way of seeing the universe. It is not only the presence of matter that matters, but the space that enfolds it, the quiet intervals that give structure and meaning to everything. The silence is not emptiness, it is openness, a vastness that holds possibility. Without this silence, no particle could dance, no atom could breathe, no star could burn. Silence is the canvas of reality, stretched across infinity, steady and enduring, while particles come and go like fleeting brushstrokes upon its surface. The more deeply we study this silence, the more it resists being dismissed as nothing. Physicists have found that the vacuum is alive with what is called zero-point energy, the lowest possible vibration that cannot be removed. Even if every particle and every wave were stripped away, this hum would remain. It is the background tone of existence, too subtle to hear yet present everywhere. This zero-point energy may even shape the fate of the cosmos, for it influences how space expands, how galaxies drift apart, how time itself flows forward. To rest in this truth is to know that silence is not the absence of sound, but the first note of all creation. There is a kind of poetry in the idea that silence has weight, that what seems empty can bend the path of light, curve the trajectory of galaxies. It is as though silence itself has gravity, a presence we cannot see but must acknowledge. We experience this in our own lives as well. The silences in conversation, the pauses in music, the gaps between breaths. These moments of quiet shape the rhythm of experience more deeply than the sounds or words themselves. Silence guides us, holds us, sustains us. Without it, life would be a flood without form. With it, life becomes a pattern, a melody, a story. Consider the way light travels through suns. Every photon leaves its source and journeys through empty space, carrying with it the memory of its birth. Some photons travel across a room, others travel across billions of years. Yet all of them are born by silence, crossing expanses where no matter resides. The silence between the particles is not a barrier to their movement, but the very highway upon which they travel. When you see the light of a star, you are seeing the triumph of sense, the patient, open space that carried the photon to you across unimaginable time. Silence is what makes connection possible. This silence also holds the potential for creation. Virtual particles rise and fall within it, fleeting but real. Their brief existence is permitted by uncertainty itself, as though Silence gives birth to whispers of form that vanish almost as soon as they appear. Some cosmologists suggest that the universe itself may have arisen from such a fluctuation, a spark in the silence that blossomed into all that we see. If true, then silence is not the absence of being but the mother of it, the womb of the cosmos, cradling the seeds of galaxies. From silence came everything, and into silence everything will one day return. On smaller scales, silence is just as essential. Within every atom, electrons hover across gaps of emptiness, their positions defined by probability clouds. The nucleus itself, made of protons and neutrons, is held together not by contact but by forces that operate across silence. Even the particles within protons and neutrons, quarks bound by gluons, are separated by tiny intervals where force fields hum. The deeper we look, the more silence we find, each layer revealing new spaces, new gaps, new openness. Matter is built upon absence as much as presence, upon silence as much as sound. To be made of atoms is to be made of silence. And yet silence is not loneliness, it is connection. The space between particles is what allows them to interact, to move, to bind into molecules, to form stars, to ignite life. If particles were crushed without space, the universe would be frozen, motionless, sterile. It is the gaps that allow the dance, the intervals that allow the song. Silence is the gift of space, the breath that keeps everything alive. Without it, there would be no movement, no time, no change. With it, the universe becomes a living symphony full of rhythm and harmony, composed of both sound and pause. This thought can bring us comfort. Often in our lives, silence can feel like emptiness, like something missing. But physics reminds us that silence is not lack, it is possibility. Just as the silence between particles holds the potential for creation, so too does the silence in our lives hold the potential for renewal. Moments of quiet can be spaces where new thoughts are born, where healing takes root, where creativity blossoms. Silence is fertile, it does not need to be filled, it needs only to be honoured. Within silence we find the ground from which meaning grows. Dark matter and dark energy, the great mysteries of cosmology, remind us how much of the universe resides in silence. We cannot see these forces, yet they shape the cosmos profoundly. Galaxies spin faster than visible matter allows. Space itself expands under an unseen push. The silence between particles may hold the answers, but even without knowing them, we can sense that the unseen outweighs the seen, that the quiet outweighs the spoken. To rest in this truth is to accept that not everything must be revealed, that silence itself is part of the beauty of existence. The unseen does not lessen reality, it deepens it. And so, as this story draws to its close, we can sit with the realization that silence is not something to fear, but something to cherish. The silence between the particles is not emptiness but fullness, not absence but presence, not death but life's foundation. It is the openness that allows creation, the space that holds connection, the quiet that makes sound meaningful. Without silence there would be no matter, no light, no life. With silence the universe is possible, and we are possible within it. To know this is to find peace, to breathe easier, to let go of the need to fill every gap with noise or certainty. So let the silence remain. Let it surround you, within and without, in your breath, in your thoughts, in the vastness of space. Let it be a reminder that what seems empty is alive with potential, that what seems absent is in truth a deeper presence. The silence between the particles will never vanish. It is eternal, woven into the fabric of reality itself. And when we rest in that silence, we can feel that we too are part of it. Threads of matter held in spaces of openness, living pauses in the song of the cosmos, gentle notes within an infinite symphony of silence. Uncertainty is often thought of as something to avoid, a flaw in our knowledge, a gap in our control. Yet when we peer into the heart of physics, we find that uncertainty is not a weakness but a foundation. It is the quiet rule that shapes reality itself, the principle that allows the world to exist as it does. Without uncertainty, the stars would not shine, atoms would not hold together, life would not breathe. To understand uncertainty is to step into a deeper calm, a recognition that the unknown is not a mistake but a gift. The principle of uncertainty, first described by Werner Heisenberg, tells us that there are pairs of qualities we can never know with perfect precision at the same time. Position and momentum, energy and time, each is bound by a delicate balance. The more clearly we know one, the less clearly we know the other. This is not a failure of measurement or a fault of instruments. It is a law of nature, woven into the fabric of reality. Particles are not points fixed in space, they are waves of possibility, spread across uncertainty. To exist is to carry within oneself a haze of the unknown, a shimmer of ambiguity that can never be erased. Imagine holding a violin string and plucking it. The tighter you stretch it, the more precise the note becomes, but the less freedom it has to move. In the same way, when we try to pin down a particle's position, we lose clarity of its motion. When we know its momentum well, its place becomes uncertain. This trade-off is not an inconvenience but a harmony, like the balance of tension and release in music. The world is not built from sharp absolute notes but from melodies shaped by uncertainty. Soft edges blending into one another to form a symphony. This uncertainty is not abstract, it is present in every atom of your body. Electrons do not have exact paths around nuclei as planets circle stars. They exist in clouds, their positions uncertain, their motions blurred. Yet out of this haze arises the solidity of matter, the firmness of the ground beneath your feet, the stability of the structures around you. Uncertainty does not dissolve reality, it shapes it. It is the silence that gives rhythm to sound, the blur that gives depth to vision, the openness that allows creation. The world is not less real because it is uncertain. It is more alive, more flexible, more full of possibility. The uncertainty principle also explains why atoms remain stable. If electrons could be pinned to exact points, they would collapse into the nucleus, and matter would vanish. Instead, uncertainty gives them space, preventing them from being confined too tightly, keeping them spread in delicate orbitals. This spread gives atoms their structure, their energy, their life. It is uncertainty that holds the world together, like an invisible cushion beneath the dance of particles. What seems like fragility is, in truth, strength. In the stars, uncertainty plays an equally vital role. Nuclear fusion depends on particles tunneling through barriers they should not cross. This tunneling arises from uncertainty, from the haze of probability that lets a particle exist where it should not. Without it, the sun would not shine, and life on Earth would never have emerged. Each ray of sunlight is a gift of uncertainty, a photon born from the delicate balance of not knowing exactly where a particle is or how it moves. The warmth on your skin, the glow of dawn, the light that feeds the trees, all of it flows from the principle that the world is never entirely fixed. Some may find unease in this, wishing for a universe of certainty, a place where everything can be known exactly, where nothing is hidden. But such a universe would be sterile, frozen, lifeless. It is the uncertainty that breathes motion into the world, that allows for variation, for surprise, for creativity. A world without uncertainty would be a world without change, without growth, without beauty. To live in uncertainty is to live in openness, to walk a path that is always new, always unfolding, always alive. Uncertainty also stretches into the realm of time. The principle tells us that the more precisely we know an event's duration, the less we know about its energy, and vice versa. This interplay creates fleeting phenomena, particles that exist only for a moment before dissolving. It allows the vacuum itself to shimmer with activity, virtual particles flickering in and out of being. Even time, which we often think of as steady and absolute, is softened by uncertainty. It is not a rigid line, but a fabric that bends and trembles, holding space for possibility. And so uncertainty becomes not a flaw, but a philosophy. It teaches us that knowledge is always partial, that the world is always larger than our grasp. This is not cause for despair, but for wonder. If everything could be known and solved, mystery would vanish, and with it the beauty of seeking. Uncertainty keeps the universe alive with questions, keeps our minds alive with curiosity. It reminds us that there is always more to discover, more to imagine, more to dream. The unknown is not emptiness, it is potential, waiting to be touched. In daily life, we often resist uncertainty, longing for clarity and control. Yet physics suggests that uncertainty is not the enemy of peace, but the source of it. Just as atoms hold together because of uncertainty, so too can our lives find balance in it. To accept uncertainty is to stop fighting the flow of time, to stop demanding answers where there are none, to rest in the openness of not knowing. In uncertainty there is space for hope, for growth, for compassion. It allows us to meet the world with humility, to see each moment not as predetermined but as alive with possibility. Uncertainty then is not only a principle of physics but a principle of being. It shapes the stars, the atoms, the breath in our lungs. It shapes our thoughts, our choices, our futures. To live in uncertainty is not to live in chaos, but in openness, to walk in a universe that is alive, flexible, creative. The world is not less because it is uncertain. It is more, infinitely more because of it. And as we let this truth settle into us, we can begin to feel its calm, its quiet assurance, its gentle reminder that the unknown is not to be feared but to be embraced. To drift deeper into the uncertainty that shapes reality is to let go of the desire for sharp edges and final answers. Instead, we begin to see the world as a soft horizon, blurred and alive, where clarity is never absolute but always in motion. The more closely we look at nature, the more it reminds us that certainty is a kind of illusion, a comforting story we tell ourselves. At the smallest scales, the world is not rigid but fluid, full of shifting possibilities. To accept this is not to lose meaning, but to discover a richer, gentler truth, that the fabric of existence is woven from uncertainty itself, The heart of this truth lies in the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. It is not only about position and momentum, but about the limits of what can be known, the boundaries of knowledge built into the universe itself. In quantum mechanics, to measure one property with greater precision is to blur another. This is not a technical inconvenience, but a natural law, telling us that the world is never fully given all at once. Each observation is a partial glimpse, like looking at a landscape through a shifting mist. The mist does not hide the world out of cruelty. It is simply part of the world's texture, part of what makes the landscape alive. Uncertainty ensures that particles cannot be confined to absolute stillness. If they were, if position and momentum could both be pinned with perfect accuracy, atoms would collapse, electrons would fall into nuclei, and the structures of matter would unravel. Instead, uncertainty gives particles a restless energy, a motion that prevents collapse. This is called zero-point energy, the irreducible vibration of matter that persists even at absolute zero. It is a kind of cosmic hum, a reminder that uncertainty is not weakness but vitality. Without it, the universe would be a silent void. With it, the universe sings. We see the signature of uncertainty in phenomena such as quantum tunneling, where particles slip through barriers they should not cross. This improbable motion arises because uncertainty gives particles a spread of possible positions, some of which lie beyond the barrier. In stars, tunneling allows protons to fuse, releasing the light and heat that sustain life. In cells, tunneling allows enzymes to pause to perform chemical reactions essential to survival. The warmth of sunlight, the beating of your heart, the scent of a flower, all of these are gifts of uncertainty. What seems like a limitation is, in truth, the very reason life exists. Entanglement also carries the fingerprint of uncertainty. Two particles, once linked, share probabilities that cannot be described separately. To measure one is to define the other instantly across any distance. This is not only strange but profoundly beautiful, suggesting that uncertainty does not isolate but connects. The uncertainty of each particle is balanced by the certainty of their union. Their shared ambiguity becomes a deeper harmony, one that transcends space and time. It is a reminder that uncertainty is not fragmentation but relation, not separation but intimacy. On larger scales, uncertainty shapes the evolution of the cosmos. In the earliest moments after the Big Bang, quantum fluctuations seeded the structure of the universe. Tiny ripples in the fabric of space, born of uncertainty, grew into galaxies, stars, and planets. Without these fluctuations, the universe would be perfectly smooth, empty of structure, devoid of life. Instead, uncertainty sculpted the heavens, painting patterns across the night sky. Each star is a monument to uncertainty, each galaxy a testimony to the fertile power of the unknown. Even time itself is softened by uncertainty. The principle links energy to duration, making it impossible to pin down both with perfect clarity. This gives rise to fleeting particles, to events that shimmer briefly before dissolving. It means that the present moment is never fully closed, always alive with possibility. The flow of time is not a rigid line but a stream filled with eddies and ripples, created by uncertainty's gentle hand. We are carried along by this stream, living in a universe where the future is never fully set, where openness is built into the heart of existence. This truth offers a lesson for our own lives. We often long for certainty, for clear outcomes and definite paths. But uncertainty is not our enemy. It is the same force that holds atoms together, that lights the stars, that allows life to grow. To resist uncertainty is to resist the very rhythm of existence. To embrace it is to move with the flow of the universe, to find peace in openness. Just as electrons cannot exist without uncertainty, neither can we. It is part of our being, our story, our song. In relationships too, uncertainty is essential. Just as particles exist in clouds of probability, so do people exist in clouds of possibility. We cannot predict every thought, every choice, every change. This unpredictability is what makes connection real. If everything were known in advance, love would lose its spontaneity, friendship would lose its surprise, life would lose its depth. Uncertainty keeps us awake to one another, attentive, alive to the moment. It gives relationships their freshness, their resilience, their beauty. The arts have always known this truth. Music depends on uncertainty, the pause before the note, the tension before the resolution. Poetry thrives on ambiguity, on meanings that shift with each reader. Painting embraces shadow as much as light, the uncertain play of colour and form. These expressions mirror the physics of the world, echoing the role of uncertainty in shaping meaning. Science and art meet in this place, reminding us that the unknown is not emptiness but richness, not loss but possibility. Some philosophers suggest that uncertainty is the source of freedom. If the universe were perfectly determined, every action would be inevitable, every choice fixed before it was made. But uncertainty cracks open the door to openness. It allows for change, for creativity, for choice. Whether or not free will exists in the deepest sense, uncertainty gives us the experience of freedom, the feeling of walking into a future that is not yet written. It reminds us that every moment holds many possible outcomes, and that our lives are paths carved through this openness. As we let these thoughts settle, we can feel uncertainty shift from something fearful to something gentle. It is the quiet breath of the universe, the shimmer of possibility in every particle, the openness in every moment. Without it, there would be no atoms, no stars, no life, no love. With it, there is a world, fragile, beautiful, alive. Uncertainty is not the shadow of knowledge, but its light, guiding us into questions, into wonder, into awe. To live in this light is to live in harmony with the universe itself. To rest within the uncertainty that shapes reality is to see the universe not as a puzzle with missing pieces, but as a living mystery that was never meant to be completed. Uncertainty does not diminish the world, it enriches it. Like the spaces in music that give rhythm to melody, like the shadows in painting that give depth to light. When we accept uncertainty as part of existence, the universe becomes softer, more open, more wondrous. The haze of possibility that surrounds every particle also surrounds us, and within that haze lies the quiet grace of being alive. The Heisenberg principle is often described with mathematics, yet its meaning is deeply human. To say that position and momentum cannot both be known with precision is to say that reality itself cannot be grasped in full. There will always be something beyond reach, something unseen, something uncertain. And yet, out of this uncertainty comes structure, stability, and life. The atoms that form our bodies are not fixed, rigid systems, but clouds of probability, sustained by uncertainty. If the universe were perfectly certain, it would collapse into sterility. Instead, uncertainty allows it to breathe, to grow, to shine. One of the quietest gifts of uncertainty is its role in protecting matter from falling into nothingness. If electrons could be pinned precisely, atoms would collapse, stars would fade, and life would vanish. Instead, electrons are kept in motion by uncertainty, held in graceful suspension around nuclei. This suspension gives matter its shape, its energy, its resilience. Every stone, every tree, every breath you take is balanced on this principle. It is as though the universe holds itself delicately, never pressing too hard, always leaving room for openness. This room is uncertainty, and it is everywhere. Stars too are born from uncertainty. Nuclear fusion depends on particles tunneling through barriers, finding paths that classical physics forbids. Without this improbable dance, the sun would not shine, and Earth would be a cold rock adrift in darkness. Each photon of sunlight is the child of uncertainty, born of particles that dared to move through impossible walls. When you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, you are feeling the presence of uncertainty itself, transformed into heat, into life, into light. Uncertainty is not distant from us. It is the glow that touches us every morning. The cosmos itself bears the marks of uncertainty in its grandest patterns. Quantum fluctuations in the early universe, tiny ripples born of the principle, grew into galaxies, stars, and planets. The Milky Way itself is the child of uncertainty, as is every constellation we name, every star that shines above us. If the universe had been perfectly smooth without fluctuations, there would be no structure, no light, no life. Instead, uncertainty carved the heavens, scattering matter into clusters, spirals, and vast webs of galaxies. When you gaze at the night sky, you are seeing the artistry of uncertainty written across space. Even time itself is touched by this principle. Energy and duration are linked by uncertainty, meaning that the universe is never fully settled. Particles flicker into existence for brief instants, borrowing energy from silence before returning it. The present moment is always alive with these fleeting whispers, reminding us that nothing is ever fully known, that time itself holds mysteries. This is why the future cannot be predicted with perfect clarity. It is not because we lack information, but because openness is built into the flow of existence. The river of time is not fixed but fluid, carrying us forward on currents we cannot map completely. This truth can guide us gently in our lives. We often struggle against uncertainty, wishing for clear answers and fixed outcomes. Yet the universe whispers that uncertainty is not an error, but the natural state of things. Just as particles thrive in uncertainty, so too can we. To accept the unknown is to step into harmony with the cosmos, to walk lightly on a path that unfolds moment by moment. Uncertainty gives us freedom, allowing us to choose, to create, to change. Without it, our lives would be predetermined, already written. With it, they are open, full of possibility, like the clouds of probability that surround every electron. Entanglement shows us that uncertainty is not loneliness but connection. Two particles share uncertainty in a way that binds them across space. Their fates are linked, not because of certainty but because of openness, because of the shared haze of probability that unites them. In our lives too, we are bound by uncertainty. We cannot predict one another fully, and yet it is in this unpredictability that relationships find their depth. To love is to embrace uncertainty, to step into a future that cannot be known, to walk together through the open landscape of possibility. Uncertainty does not divide us, it weaves us together. Art and poetry echo this truth. A poem lives in the space between meanings, in the uncertainty that allows interpretation. Music lives in the pauses as much as in the notes. Painting lives in the interplay of shadow and light, in the suggestion of form rather than its certainty. These arts remind us that uncertainty is not absence but richness, not confusion but creativity. Science too becomes a kind of art in this light, a way of exploring the patterns of uncertainty without ever exhausting them. To study the world is not to erase mystery but to deepen it, to learn to rest in the openness it provides. Some may ask whether this uncertainty means that nothing can be known, that truth is forever out of reach, but this is not so. Quantum mechanics, built upon uncertainty, is one of the most accurate theories in science, predicting outcomes to astonishing precision. We can calculate probabilities with exquisite detail, even if we cannot pin down certainties. The world is not unknowable, it is knowable in a new way, through openness rather than closure, through probability rather than inevitability. This is a subtler kind of truth, softer and more profound, one that allows us to live in harmony with the mystery rather than against it. As the story draws to a close, we can feel uncertainty settling around us like a soft blanket. It is no longer a threat or a flaw, but a comfort, a reminder that the world is always more than we can see. Uncertainty gives us room to breathe, room to grow, room to wonder. It keeps life from becoming rigid, keeps the universe from becoming static, keeps existence alive. Without uncertainty, there would be no change, no light, no life. With it, there is everything. To live is to live within uncertainty, and to find peace in its embrace is to align ourselves with the rhythm of the cosmos. So let us rest here, in the quiet knowledge that uncertainty shapes reality. It is the breath in every atom, the glow of every star, the openness of every moment. It is the principle that allows the world to be alive, flexible, creative. Uncertainty is not something to solve, but something to cherish, for it is the gentle law that gives us all we know and all we cannot yet imagine. And as we close our eyes and drift into silence, we can feel it holding us, not as fear but as comfort, not as confusion but as wonder, not as loss but as the fullness of possibility itself. The quantum world is often described as strange, but perhaps a softer word would be endless. It is a hall of infinite mirrors, each reflecting a version of reality, each revealing a possibility that could be. When we step into this hall, we find ourselves surrounded by reflections that stretch beyond sight, shimmering in patterns of light and shadow. Every experiment, every observation, every particle seems to open another mirror, another branch of possibility. The quantum world is not a single surface, but a kaleidoscope, a place where reality itself seems to fold and multiply. This image of mirrors is more than metaphor. At the heart of quantum mechanics lies the superposition principle, which allows a particle to exist in many states at once. An electron can spin up and down, left and right simultaneously. A photon can travel through two paths at the same time. Only when measured does the wave of possibilities collapse into a single outcome, a single reflection. Until then, the particle lives in many mirrors at once, a cloud of versions spread across the hall. Superposition is the shimmer of infinite reflections, the gentle play of reality across possibilities. The famous thought experiment of Schrödinger's cat captures this mystery. In its sealed box, the cat is both alive and dead until observed. This is not because the cat itself changes, but because the quantum system that governs its fate exists in superposition. The cat becomes a mirror of the quantum world, showing us how unsettling and beautiful superposition can be. Life and death, being and not being, coexist in a single reflection until we look. Then one path solidifies, and the others fade into the silence of might have been. The cat is a story, but it is also a mirror of us, of the uncertainty and openness that shape every choice. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that the mirrors never fade. In the many worlds view, every possibility exists in its own universe, branching endlessly with every quantum event. When the cat is observed, one universe holds a living cat, another holds a dead one, and countless more hold countless other outcomes. Reality becomes an infinite forest of mirrors, each path real, each reflection alive. To imagine this is to feel both small and infinite at once, a single life among countless reflections, each one a variation of possibility. The many worlds interpretation is not proven, but it opens our imagination to the vastness of what might be. Even without many worlds, the mathematics of quantum mechanics tells us that the universe is never singular. Every particle is described by a wave function, a mirror of probabilities that ripple outward, overlapping and interfering. These wave functions create patterns as delicate as lace, weaving together the outcomes that may unfold. When we measure, we see only one reflection, but beneath it lies the entire pattern, hidden in the mirrors. It is like looking at a single star and forgetting the galaxy around it. The quantum world is always larger than what we see, always shimmering with unseen reflections. This hall of mirrors does not exist only in thought experiments. We see its effects in experiments that reveal interference patterns. When electrons are sent one at a time through a double slit, they build up an interference pattern as though each travelled through both slits at once. Each electron seems to explore all possible paths, reflecting itself in every mirror before collapsing into a single spot on the screen. The pattern left behind is not chaos but order, a quiet testimony that the infinite mirrors are real, shaping the outcomes we can measure. The experiment is a window into the hall, showing us the reflections that lie beneath the surface. Entanglement too reflects this infinite play. Two particles, once entangled, no longer have separate wave functions but a shared one. Their mirrors overlap, intertwining their fates across space. To measure one is to reveal the other, instantly, as though the reflections are not two but one. This connection stretches across distance, defying our sense of separateness. The infinite mirrors remind us that reality may be more unified than it appears, that the divisions we see are only one reflection among many. Entanglement is not only strange, it is tender, a quiet reminder that everything is linked in ways deeper than sight. These mirrors also shape the technology of our world. Quantum computing relies on superposition and entanglement, allowing qubits to hold many states at once. Instead of simple ones and zeros, they reflect countless possibilities processed in parallel. A quantum computer is like a machine built inside the Hall of Mirrors, drawing power from the reflections themselves. It does not abandon uncertainty but embraces it, turning openness into strength. The devices we build echo the structure of reality, learning to dance with the infinite mirrors rather than resist them. Even here in circuits and algorithms, we see the shimmer of quantum possibility. Yet perhaps the most profound reflection is not in machines, but in us. For the mirrors of the quantum world invite us to see our own lives as fields of possibility. Each choice we make collapses countless potentials into a single path. Each step forward is both a resolution and a branching, one reflection shining while others fade. To live is to walk through a hall of mirrors, to see not only what is, but what might have been, what could still be, what lies hidden in the quiet shimmer of probability. The quantum world becomes a metaphor for existence itself, not fixed, not singular, but infinite, alive with reflections. It can feel dizzying to imagine these infinite mirrors, to think of universes branching endlessly, to picture particles shimmering across possibilities. But within this dizziness is a kind of peace, for the mirrors remind us that reality is never closed, never final. There is always openness, always potential, always more than we can see. The quantum world is not brehorn or incomplete. It is vast, subtle, and generous. It holds more than we can measure, more than we can imagine, and it invites us to rest in that vastness. The mirrors are not there to be solved, but to be cherished, to be marvelled at, to be lived within. As we stand within this hall of mirrors, we may feel both humbled and comforted. Our place in the reflections is small yet luminous. We are one among countless possibilities, yet we are also part of the whole, part of the shimmer that stretches across reality. The infinite mirrors of the quantum world remind us that life is never singular, never narrow, never fixed. It is a dance of possibilities, a play of reflections, a gentle unfolding of chance and choice. To live is to walk among mirrors, to see ourselves reflected in endless ways, and to find peace in the shimmer of what cannot be contained. To walk deeper into the infinite mirrors of the quantum world is to let go of the desire for one single, unbroken reflection. Reality is not a polished glass that shows us a fixed picture, but a mosaic of shifting images, each fragment catching the light in its own way. These mirrors multiply endlessly, reflecting not only what is, but what could be, and each reflection is part of the truth. The quantum world teaches us that certainty is an illusion of scale. At the deepest levels, life is not one straight path, but a hall filled with reflections branching outward in every direction. The principle of superposition lies at the heart of this hall. It tells us that until a particle is measured, it does not belong to a single state but to many. An electron can exist here and there, moving clockwise and counterclockwise, carrying multiple truths at once. The act of measurement collapses this openness into one outcome, one reflection that we can see, yet the mirrors remain unseen but real, reminding us that reality is larger than what appears. This is not confusion but generosity, for superposition allows the universe to hold more than one possibility, more than one note, more than one song at a time. This generosity of mirrors is visible in the interference of waves. When particles travel through two slits, their probabilities overlap, creating patterns of light and shadow that whisper of the unseen reflections. Each particle behaves as though it has passed through both slits, both paths, both mirrors, and the result is a pattern more beautiful than randomness, more subtle than certainty. The interference fringes are like the ripples of possibility etched upon a screen, evidence that the quantum world is never one but many. Each reflection touches the others, weaving them together into a harmony of probabilities. Entanglement takes this harmony further, showing us that the mirrors do not exist in isolation. Two particles, once linked, share reflections across space as though their mirrors are fused into one. To measure one is to reveal the other, no matter the distance, no matter the separation. It is as if the hall of mirrors stretches beyond the limits of space, connecting distant rooms into one infinite gallery. The reflections we see are only fragments of this greater whole, and yet they hint at the unity beneath. Entanglement reminds us that the mirrors of the quantum world are not solitary but communal, part of a shared tapestry of possibility. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that the mirrors we do not see are not lost but alive in their own right. In the many worlds picture, each reflection becomes real, each possibility blossoms into a universe of its own. The electron that goes left creates one branch, the electron that goes right creates another, and both branches persist, each with its own story, its own outcome, its own shimmering truth. In this view, the Hall of Mirrors is not metaphor but reality, an infinite branching of worlds where every possibility is fulfilled. To think of this is to feel the weight and wonder of infinity pressing gently upon us, a reminder that the universe is more vast than our imagination can hold. Yet even if the many worlds remain unproven, the mathematics of quantum theory insists that the reflections matter. The probabilities they create guide every outcome, shaping the behavior of matter, light, and life. The mirrors may not all solidify, but they still influence what we see. They are like the echoes of a song we cannot fully hear, shaping the melody that reaches us, filling it with depth and resonance. The reflections unseen are part of the reflections we see, just as silence is part of music, just as shadow is part of light. The Hall of Mirrors is not elsewhere. It is here, shaping every breath, every heartbeat, every star. Technology now allows us to glimpse this hall more clearly. Quantum computers rely on the reflections of superposition, allowing qubits to exist in many states at once. Entangled qubits share mirrors across circuits, weaving outcomes together in ways that classical machines cannot match. These devices do not collapse the mirrors prematurely. They allow them to shimmer and interfere, harnessing their openness to perform calculations beyond ordinary reach. A quantum computer is not merely a tool, it is a kind of mirror walker, stepping into the hall and returning with answers from the reflections. In this way, our machines echo the structure of reality, learning not to fear uncertainty but to live within it. The mirrors also shape biology, for life itself depends on quantum effects. In photosynthesis, energy travels through molecules not as a single path, but as overlapping possibilities, exploring many routes at once, until it finds the most efficient. This is the dance of superposition, the shimmer of mirrors within the leaves of trees, guiding sunlight into nourishment. In vision, photons strike the molecules of the eye, collapsing their reflections into signals that create sight. In smell, quantum tunneling may allow electrons to leap across gaps, letting us sense fragrance. Our senses, our survival, our very awareness are touched by the mirrors of the quantum world, as though we ourselves are built from reflections. What then does it mean to live within infinite mirrors? Perhaps it means that our choices are also reflections, our lives superpositions of possibility, until decisions collapse them into form. Each choice we make shines one mirror more brightly while others fade, but none are wasted. They remain as shadows, as echoes, as might-have-beens that give depth to our existence. To be human is to walk through the hall of mirrors, knowing that each step is both real and one among many. We may not see all the reflections, but we feel their presence. The weight of paths untaken, the shimmer of possibilities that whisper around us. This can bring both humility and comfort. Humility because it reminds us that what we see is only a fragment, a single reflection chosen from many. Comfort because it tells us that reality is generous, never closed, always open to more. The mirrors mean that nothing is final, nothing is singular, nothing is without context. Each reflection is part of a greater pattern, each outcome part of a larger whole. To live with this awareness is to live more gently, more openly, more attuned to the shimmer that surrounds us. The mirrors do not diminish life, they enrich it, giving it depth, resonance, and meaning. As we rest in this thought, we may feel the infinite mirrors not as dizzying, but as soothing. They are not chaos, but order of a different kind, not confusion, but abundance. The Hall of Mirrors is the universe's way of reminding us that life is never small, never narrow, never fixed. It is wide, rich, layered with unseen possibilities. To live is to dwell among reflections, to let their shimmer guide us, to find peace not in certainty but in openness. The infinite mirrors of the quantum world are not puzzles to solve but companions to cherish. A gentle reminder that existence itself is always more than one reflection can hold. To stand in the hall of infinite mirrors is to stand within a universe that is always larger than we imagine. Each reflection stretches into another, each possibility branching into countless more. The mirrors do not end, they fade into distance, into silence, into wonder. As we look more closely, we realize that these mirrors are not outside us but within us too. The same quantum principles that govern particles govern our lives. We are not separate from the hall, we are part of it, moving reflections in an endless dance of possibility. The mirrors are not static, but alive. They shimmer with superposition, with entanglement, with interference. They hold within them not just what is, but what could be. An electron's wave function is a mirror of all its potential paths, each path a reflection waiting to unfold. When measured, one reflection shines forth, but the others do not vanish. They linger as echoes, as context, as hidden depth. The mirrors remind us that reality is layered, never flat, always carrying unseen dimensions. What we experience is only the surface of a vast architecture of possibility, polished and refracted by mirrors we cannot fully see. This vastness can feel overwhelming, but it can also bring peace. For the mirrors tell us that nothing is final, nothing is singular. Every outcome is one reflection among many, and even when a path closes, countless others remain. The Hall of Mirrors is generous. It does not trap us in one narrow corridor, but opens into endless rooms, endless reflections, endless ways of being. To live is to wander through these rooms, to glimpse ourselves in countless forms, to see our lives as part of a greater pattern shimmering across infinity. In science, the mirrors appear as probabilities, equations that describe distributions rather than certainties. Yet these equations are not cold abstractions. They are songs written in mathematics, harmonies that tell us how the mirrors align, how the reflections interfere, how the possibilities flow. The accuracy of these equations is astonishing, predicting experiments to many decimal places. And yet, they never give us certainty, only probability. only openness. This is the paradox of the quantum world. It is both the most precise theory we have and the most uncertain. Its mirrors are exact in their patterns, but endless in their reflections. Entanglement shows us the intimacy of these mirrors. Two particles, once linked, share reflections no matter how far apart they travel. To measure one is to reveal the other instantly, as though their mirrors are joined across space. This is not just physics, it is poetry. It tells us that separation is never absolute, that distance is an illusion of scale. At the deepest levels, the universe is connected, woven of shared reflections. To live in this truth is to see that we too are entangled, not just with one another but with the cosmos itself. Our mirrors are not solitary, they are part of the infinite whole. Technology has begun to touch these mirrors directly. Quantum computers, quantum cryptography, quantum teleportation, all of these rely on reflections within the whole. They do not deny uncertainty but embrace it, turning possibility into strength. A qubit can hold many states at once, reflecting multiple outcomes simultaneously. Entangled qubits share mirrors across circuits, creating patterns of interference that classical machines cannot replicate. In this way, our tools become mirror walkers, stepping into the hall and returning with gifts of possibility. The future of technology may be built not on resisting uncertainty, but on learning to live within the mirrors. But the Hall of Mirrors is not only for science or technology, it is also for us, for our daily lives. Every choice we make is a mirror, every path we take a reflection. When we decide one reflection shines more brightly but the others still whisper, they remind us of the richness of existence, of the many ways life could unfold. This does not diminish our choices, it deepens them, giving them weight and context. To choose is to collapse a superposition, to bring one reflection into focus. Yet even in the paths not taken there is beauty, for they remain as part of the whole, part of the depth of our story. Philosophers have long wondered whether these infinite mirrors mean that every possible life is lived somewhere, in some branch of reality. If so, then each of us exists not only here, but in countless reflections, each one walking a different path. Some find this dizzying, even unsettling, but it can also be comforting, for it suggests that no possibility is ever truly lost, that every dream, every hope, every chance lives on in some reflection. The Hall of Mirrors is endless, and within it, everything has a place. Our lives are both singular and infinite, both real and mirrored. The mirrors also offer a lesson in humility. We see only one reflection at a time, only one path among many. To think that our vision is complete is to mistake a single mirror for the whole hall. The quantum world reminds us that reality is always more than we can grasp, always layered, always unfolding. This humility can soften us, teaching us to listen, to wonder, to rest in mystery. We do not need to see every mirror to trust that they are there. We only need to know that the hall is vast, that our reflection is part of something greater, something endless. And as we reflect on this, we may begin to see the mirrors in our own lives, the pauses in conversation, the shadows in memory, the dreams that linger but never come to pass. All of these are mirrors, reflections of what might have been, what could still be. Life itself is a hall of mirrors, shimmering with possibility, never confined to one surface. To live is to walk gently among these reflections, to honour the choices we make, to cherish the ones we do not, to rest in the awareness that existence is richer than any single path. The mirrors are not burdens but gifts, reminders of the depth and openness of life. As this story draws to its close, we return to the image of the Hall of Infinite Mirrors. It is not a place to escape, but the place we already inhabit. Every particle, every choice, every breath is a reflection within it. The mirrors stretch outward and inward, into galaxies and into thoughts, into stars and into dreams. They shimmer in silence, endless and generous, holding the fullness of reality. We cannot see them all, but we can feel their presence, like a quiet hum beneath existence, like light glinting at the edge of vision. The Hall of Mirrors is the universe itself, and we are its reflections, walking gently within its endless glow. So let us rest here, in the shimmer of infinite mirrors. Let us feel their openness, their generosity, their quiet beauty. The quantum world does not give us certainty, but it gives us something gentler, the assurance that reality is always more, always wider, always alive with possibility. To live is to live among mirrors, to see ourselves reflected in countless ways, to walk paths that shimmer with chance and choice. And when we close our eyes, we can feel the hall around us, infinite and calm, filled with reflections that whisper of all that was, all that is, and all that could be, forever shimmering in the endless mirrors of the quantum world.